Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. We're going to learn about Mahatma Gandhi's life in a simple and easy to understand way. This story is perfect for practicing your English listening. Birth, childhood and family. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi was born on October 2, 1869, in Porbandar, a coastal town in present-day Gujarat, India. He was born into a Hindu family of the Vaishya, or merchant caste. His father, Karamchand Gandhi, served as the Diwan chief minister of Porbandar state, a small princely state in the Kathiawar peninsula. His mother, Putlibai, was deeply religious and often fasted. She had a strong influence on young Mohandas, teaching him the values of non-violence, vegetarianism, fasting for self-purification, and tolerance for other religions. Gandhi was the youngest of 4 children, with 1 sister and 2 brothers. His family followed Jainism, though they were Hindu by religion. Jainism emphasized non-violence, vegetarianism, and self-discipline, principles that would later become central to Gandhi's philosophy. As a child, Mohandas was shy and average in his studies. He was not particularly athletic and preferred to read books rather than play outdoor games. His childhood friends described him as truthful and honest, even at a young age. There is a famous story about young Gandhi stealing a small piece of gold from his brother's armlet. Feeling guilty, he confessed to his father, who forgave him instead of punishing him. This experience taught Gandhi the power of truth and non-violence, which he called satyagraha later in life. When Gandhi was 13 years old, following the custom of his community, he was married to Kasturba Mukherjee, who was also 13. This arranged marriage would last his entire life, though Gandhi later became a critic of child marriage. Despite the early marriage, Gandhi continued his education, and the young couple had their first child when they were 16 years old. They would eventually have 4 sons, Harilal, Manilal, Ramdas, and Devdas. Education and formation. Gandhi's formal education began in Porbandar, where he attended elementary school. He was an average student who struggled with some subjects but showed a strong interest in ethics and moral values. After elementary school, he continued his education in Rajkot when his father became the Diwan there. In 1887, at the age of 18, Gandhi graduated from high school in Ahmedabad. He then enrolled in Samaldas College in Bhavnagar state, but he was unhappy there. A family friend suggested that if Gandhi hoped to follow in his father's footsteps as Diwan, he should become a barrister, which would require studying in England. Though his mother was reluctant to send him so far away, Gandhi was determined to go to England to study law. Before leaving, he made a vow to his mother that he would abstain from meat, alcohol, and relationships with women during his time abroad. This promise reflected the values of his Jain-influenced upbringing and would shape his future lifestyle. In September 1888, at the age of 18, Gandhi left for London to study at University College London and later at the Inner Temple, one of the 4 Inns of Court. Life in London was initially challenging for Gandhi. He struggled to adapt to English customs and felt isolated as a vegetarian in meat-eating British society. However, he eventually found vegetarian restaurants and joined the Vegetarian Society, where he met people interested in religious reform and theosophy. During his 3 years in London, Gandhi not only studied law but also explored various philosophical and religious texts, including the Bhagavad Gita, which he read for the first time in its English translation. He also studied Christian teachings and was particularly impressed by Jesus's message of turning the other cheek. These diverse influences helped shape his evolving philosophy. Gandhi was called to the bar in June 1891 and returned to India shortly afterward. However, his legal career in India got off to a difficult start. He was too shy to speak up in court and struggled to find clients. After failing in his attempt to establish a law practice in Bombay, he returned to Rajkot to make a modest living drafting petitions for litigants. Early professional career. Gandhi's unsuccessful start as a lawyer in India led to a turning point when he accepted a one-year contract from an Indian firm to work in South Africa in 1893. He was 24 years old when he arrived in Durban, South Africa, to serve as legal counsel to a wealthy Indian merchant, Dada Abdullah. Shortly after arriving in South Africa, Gandhi experienced an event that would change his life. While traveling by train to Pretoria, he was thrown off the train at Pietermaritzburg station after refusing to move from the first-class compartment to the third-class one, despite having a valid first-class ticket. This incident of racial discrimination was awakening for Gandhi. He spent the cold night at the station, contemplating whether to return to India or to stay and fight against the injustice he had experienced. Gandhi decided to stay in South Africa and fight against racial discrimination. During his time there, he witnessed the widespread prejudice against Indians, who were derogatorily called coolies. They faced severe restrictions on their rights to own property, move freely, and conduct business. This experience transformed Gandhi from a quiet, shy lawyer into a bold social activist. In 1894, Gandhi founded the Natal Indian Congress to fight discrimination against Indians in South Africa. He began organizing the Indian community to protest against discriminatory laws through nonviolent means. His methods included petitions, community organizing, and using the press to publicize injustices. In 1896, after a brief return to India to bring his wife and children to South Africa, Gandhi was attacked by a white mob in Durban who had heard rumors that he had made derogatory comments about white South Africans during his time in India. Though he was saved from serious injury by the police superintendent's wife, this incident further strengthened his commitment to fighting injustice through peaceful means. When the Boer War broke out in 1899, Gandhi organized an ambulance corps of 1,100 Indian volunteers to help the British, believing that supporting the empire would help Indians gain full citizenship rights. Similarly, during the Zulu Rebellion in 1906, he again organized a stretcher-bearer corps to help the British, though he sympathized with the Zulus. It was during this period that Gandhi developed his philosophy of satyagraha, truth force or love force, a form of non-violent resistance. In 1906, when the Transvaal government introduced a new law requiring all Indians to register and be fingerprinted, Gandhi organized his first mass civil disobedience campaign. Indians refused to register, burned their registration cards, and endured beatings and imprisonment rather than submit to the humiliating law. After years of struggle, in 1914, the South African government accepted a compromise negotiated by Gandhi and General Jan Smuts, which included recognition of Indian marriages and abolition of the poll tax for Indians. Having achieved this partial victory, Gandhi decided to return to India, where he would apply the principles of satyagraha to the struggle for Indian independence. Personal life and relationships. Gandhi's personal life was deeply intertwined with his public mission and spiritual journey. His marriage to Kasturba, which began as a traditional arranged marriage between teenagers, evolved into a partnership of equals. Though their relationship had its challenges, especially as Gandhi's spiritual and political commitments grew, Kasturba became his steadfast companion and a leader in her own right. She supported his campaigns, endured multiple imprisonments alongside him, and worked with women in the independence movement. When Kasturba died in 1944 while they were both imprisoned, Gandhi was devastated. As a father, Gandhi had complex relationships with his 4 sons. His dedication to public service often came at the expense of time with his family, and his sons sometimes felt they lived in their father's shadow. His eldest son, Harilal, had the most troubled relationship with his father, disagreeing with Gandhi's values and eventually converting to Islam as a rejection of his father's Hindu beliefs. Despite these tensions, Gandhi loved his children deeply, though he believed his service to humanity took precedence over his family obligations. Gandhi maintained close relationships with several women who were his associates and confidants. His relationship with Sarala Devi Chaudharani, a nationalist and poet, was particularly close, and he once referred to her as his spiritual wife. In his later years, Gandhi conducted controversial Brahmacharya experiments, where he slept in the same bed with young women, including his grandniece Manu, to test his vow of celibacy. While Gandhi maintained that these relationships were completely non-sexual and part of his spiritual practice, they caused concern among his followers and family. Among Gandhi's closest male associates were Jawaharlal Nehru, who would become India's first prime minister, and Vinoba Bhave, who continued Gandhi's work after his death. Though Gandhi and Nehru had different visions for India's future, Gandhi favoring a decentralized village-based society and Nehru advocating industrialization, they maintained a deep respect and affection for each other. Gandhi called Nehru his political heir. Gandhi's relationship with Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the founder of Pakistan, was more complicated. Initially, they worked together in the independence movement, but their visions diverged dramatically. Jinnah's insistence on a separate Muslim state conflicted with Gandhi's dream of a united India where Hindus and Muslims lived in harmony. Their inability to reconcile these differences contributed to the partition of India, which Gandhi viewed as a personal and national tragedy. Throughout his life, Gandhi maintained correspondence with international figures like Leo Tolstoy, whose ideas on nonviolence influenced him, and with Albert Einstein, who admired Gandhi's commitment to peace. Gandhi's ability to form meaningful connections across cultural, religious, and political divides was central to his effectiveness as a leader and his enduring global influence. Major achievements and contributions. Gandhi's greatest achievement was leading India to independence from British rule through non-violent resistance. Unlike many revolutionary leaders who advocated armed struggle, Gandhi developed and implemented the concept of satyagraha, non-violent civil disobedience based on truth and love. This approach not only achieved political goals but did so in a way that minimized bloodshed and maintained moral integrity. One of Gandhi's first major campaigns in India was the Champaran Satyagraha in 1917. Farmers in Champaran, Bihar, were forced to grow indigo and sell it at fixed prices to British planters. Gandhi organized peaceful protests and negotiations that eventually led the British to abolish the exploitative system. This success demonstrated the effectiveness of non-violent resistance and established Gandhi as a national leader. In 1919, Gandhi launched a nationwide campaign against the Rowlatt Acts, which allowed certain political cases to be tried without juries. This campaign marked his first large-scale use of satyagraha in India. When peaceful protests in Amritsar led to the Jallianwala Bagh massacre, where British troops killed hundreds of unarmed civilians, Gandhi's commitment to non-violence was tested but remained firm. The non-cooperation movement of 1920 to 1922 was one of Gandhi's most significant campaigns. He called on Indians to boycott British goods, institutions, and government positions. Millions participated, returning British honors, withdrawing children from government schools, and boycotting foreign cloth in favor of homespun khadi. The movement ended when violence erupted at Chauri Chowra, and Gandhi, true to his principles, called off the campaign rather than allow it to descend into violence. In 1930, Gandhi led the famous Salt March to protest the British monopoly on salt production and the tax on salt. He walked 240 miles from his ashram to the Arabian Sea, where he made salt by evaporating seawater, technically breaking the law. This simple act inspired millions across India to break the salt laws, and about 60,000 people, including Gandhi, were imprisoned. The Salt Satyagraha generated worldwide attention and sympathy for the Indian independence movement. The Quit India movement, launched in 1942, was Gandhi's final major campaign against British rule. With the battle cry, "Do or die," he called for immediate independence. Though the British quickly arrested Gandhi and other leaders, the movement continued underground and demonstrated that British control of India was increasingly untenable. Beyond political independence, Gandhi made significant contributions to social reform in India. He worked tirelessly to eliminate untouchability and promote equality for all castes. He renamed the untouchables Harijans, children of God, and made temple entry for them a priority. Gandhi also advocated for women's rights, rural economic self-sufficiency through cottage industries, religious harmony, and basic education for all. Gandhi's concept of nonviolent resistance influenced freedom and civil rights movements worldwide. Leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. in the United States, Nelson Mandela in South Africa, and Aung San Suu Kyi in Myanmar have acknowledged their debt to Gandhi's methods and philosophy. His emphasis on the power of truth, love, and self-suffering to change hearts and systems continues to inspire activists and peacemakers globally. Challenges and obstacles overcome. Throughout his life, Gandhi faced numerous challenges and obstacles, both personal and political. One of his earliest challenges came in South Africa, where he confronted entrenched racial discrimination. Despite being educated and from a respectable family, he was thrown off trains, beaten by mobs, and denied basic rights. Rather than becoming bitter or violent, Gandhi transformed these experiences into a powerful philosophy of nonviolent resistance. In India, Gandhi faced the enormous challenge of uniting a diverse population across religious, caste, and linguistic divides to create a cohesive independence movement. India's population included Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, Christians, and other religious groups, as well as hundreds of castes and subcastes. Gandhi worked to bridge these divides, often fasting to promote Hindu-Muslim unity or to protest violence between communities. The British Empire at its height was the most powerful political entity in the world. Challenging this empire without military force seemed impossible to many. Gandhi had to convince his fellow Indians that non-violent resistance could succeed against the might of the British Raj. He also had to maintain discipline within the movement, ensuring that protests remained peaceful even in the face of violent repression. Gandhi spent a total of nearly 6 years in prison during his campaigns in South Africa and India. His first imprisonment in India came in 1922, when he was sentenced to 6 years for sedition. Though he was released after 2 years due to appendicitis, he would return to prison multiple times. During the Salt Satyagraha, he was imprisoned for 9 months, and during the Quit India movement, he was held for 2 years. Prison was physically and emotionally challenging, but Gandhi used his time in jail for reading, writing, spinning, and spiritual reflection. Within the independence movement, Gandhi faced opposition from those who advocated more radical approaches. Revolutionary leaders like Bhagat Singh believed that violence was necessary to overthrow British rule. On the other end of the spectrum, conservative leaders like Muhammad Ali Jinnah disagreed with Gandhi's approach to Hindu-Muslim relations and eventually advocated for a separate Muslim state. Balancing these competing visions while maintaining his commitment to non-violence and unity required tremendous political skill and moral courage. Perhaps Gandhi's greatest personal challenge was living up to his own high moral standards. He took vows of simplicity, celibacy, vegetarianism, and truth-telling that were difficult to maintain. His experiments with diet, celibacy, and communal living were sometimes controversial, even among his supporters. When he failed to live up to his ideals, he publicly acknowledged his shortcomings, demonstrating a rare humility among political leaders. The partition of India in 1947 represented both a triumph and a tragedy for Gandhi. While India achieved independence, the country was divided along religious lines, leading to massive population transfers and communal violence that claimed hundreds of thousands of lives. Gandhi opposed partition until the end and worked tirelessly to promote peace between Hindus and Muslims. When violence erupted in Calcutta, he fasted until the fighting stopped, demonstrating the moral authority he commanded even in the most challenging circumstances. Legacy and impact on the world. Mahatma Gandhi's legacy extends far beyond India's borders and continues to influence people worldwide more than 7 decades after his death. His most immediate legacy was the achievement of Indian independence in 1947, which marked the beginning of the end of European colonialism globally. Within a few decades of India's independence, most colonies in Asia and Africa had also gained freedom, partly inspired by Gandhi's successful non-violent approach. Gandhi's philosophy of non-violent resistance, or satyagraha, has influenced numerous social and political movements around the world. In the United States, Martin Luther King Jr. explicitly acknowledged his debt to Gandhi, applying Gandhian principles to the American civil rights movement. King visited India in 1959 to learn more about Gandhi's methods and returned with a deeper commitment to nonviolence. Similarly, Nelson Mandela in South Africa, Cesar Chavez in the United States, and Aung San Suu Kyi in Myanmar have all drawn inspiration from Gandhi's approach to confronting injustice. In India, Gandhi's legacy is complex and evolving. He is officially honored as the father of the nation, and his birthday, October 2nd, is a national holiday. His image appears on Indian currency, and statues of Gandhi stand in towns and cities across the country. The Indian government has established numerous institutions to preserve and promote Gandhian values, including the Gandhi Peace Foundation and the Gandhi Smriti Museum at the site of his assassination. Gandhi's emphasis on simple living, self-reliance, and environmental sustainability has gained renewed relevance in an era of climate change and resource depletion. His critique of industrialization and consumerism, once considered outdated, now resonates with environmental activists seeking sustainable alternatives to the dominant economic model. Gandhi's concept of trusteeship, where the wealthy hold their resources in trust for society rather than as personal property, offers an alternative vision of economic organization that challenges both capitalism and communism. Gandhi's advocacy for the rights of the marginalized, particularly his campaign against untouchability, has contributed to significant social reforms in India. The Indian Constitution, drafted under the leadership of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, himself born into the untouchable caste, outlawed discrimination based on caste. Though caste-based prejudice persists in Indian society, Gandhi's moral stand against it helped delegitimize this ancient system of hierarchy. In the realm of international relations, Gandhi's emphasis on peaceful conflict resolution has influenced the development of peace studies as an academic discipline and informed the work of organizations like the United Nations. The UN General Assembly designated October 2nd, Gandhi's birthday, as the International Day of Nonviolence in 2007, recognizing his global significance as a proponent of peace. Perhaps most profoundly, Gandhi challenged conventional notions of power and strength. He demonstrated that moral force could overcome physical might, that one could be both gentle and strong, and that means and ends are inseparable. As he famously said, "You must be the change you wish to see in the world." This integration of personal and political transformation remains one of his most enduring contributions to human thought and action. Mahatma Gandhi's life journey from a shy boy in Porbandar to the leader who freed India through non-violence offers powerful lessons for us all. His story reminds us that ordinary people can achieve extraordinary things when guided by truth, love, and courage. Gandhi didn't have exceptional physical strength, wealth, or political position, yet he moved millions to action and changed the course of history. Gandhi once said, "In a gentle way, you can shake the world." His life proved this statement true. By refusing to respond to hatred with hatred, by maintaining his dignity in the face of humiliation, and by appealing to the conscience of even his opponents, Gandhi demonstrated a different kind of power, the power of the human spirit committed to truth and non-violence. As we face our own challenges, both personal and collective, Gandhi's example invites us to consider, what would happen if we met injustice not with more injustice, but with a determined, loving insistence on truth? What might we accomplish if we aligned our means perfectly with our ends, refusing shortcuts that compromise our values? How might our world change if each of us, like Gandhi, became the change we wish to see? Gandhi's life was not perfect, and he would be the first to acknowledge his mistakes and limitations. Yet in his very human journey, with all its struggles and setbacks, we find hope and inspiration. His legacy reminds us that positive change is possible, that violence is not inevitable, and that each of us has the capacity to contribute to a more just and peaceful world. As we continue our own journeys, may we carry forward the flame of truth and non-violence that Gandhi lit, illuminating our path toward a better future for all.